Hi everyone, my name is Kai Madison Trump. I am the granddaughter of Donald Trump. I'm speaking today to share the side of my grandpa that people don't often see.
Imagine growing up where every birthday party might end up on the evening news, where your first steps could be captured by a press photographer, and where your last name alone guarantees that the entire world has an opinion about you before you even say a single word. That is the reality for 10 young people who share one of the most recognizable surnames on the planet. They did not choose their grandfather, they did not choose the cameras, and they certainly did not choose the political storms that have swirled around their family for decades. Yet here they are, each one quietly or not so quietly building a life that is entirely their own. Some of them are athletes. Some are artists. Some are engineers at heart. Some have already stood on stages in front of tens of thousands of people, and some have gone out of their way to make sure almost nobody knows what they had for breakfast. What unites them is blood, a name, and a grandfather who has arguably been the most talked about figure in modern American political history. Today we are going to go beyond the headlines and take a genuine look at who these 10 grandchildren actually are in 2026, where they come from, who raised them, and what kind of people they are becoming. What you find might genuinely surprise you. We begin at the very start of the third generation of the Trump family, with the eldest grandchild of them all. Kai Madison Trump was born in 2007, making her 19 years old as of 2026. She is the first child of Donald Trump Jr. and his former wife Vanessa Trump, and she arrived into a family that was already well known long before politics became the central conversation. Growing up as the eldest grandchild meant that Kai has had more years in the public eye than any of her siblings or cousins, and that kind of prolonged exposure to public life does one of two things to a person. It either makes them retreat entirely, or it teaches them how to carry themselves with confidence. For Kai, it clearly did the latter. She is currently a freshman at the University of Miami, navigating college life in a way that most teenagers do, balancing academics, social life, and figuring out who she is as an adult, except that her version of normal also includes being a sponsored golfer with professional ambitions. Golf has become one of the defining passions of her young life. She has put in serious hours on the course, worked with coaches, and developed a handicap that would make many adult recreational golfers envious. She has already made appearances at competitive levels that signal she is not treating the sport as a casual hobby but as something she genuinely wants to pursue with discipline and long-term commitment. For a teenager balancing college and everything else that comes with her last name, that level of athletic focus is worth noting. Beyond the sport, Kai has also built a significant presence on social media, something that distinguishes her from several of her cousins who actively avoid digital platforms. She has used that platform thoughtfully, creating content that shows off her personality, her sense of humor, and occasionally a side of her grandfather that does not make it onto political broadcasts. The clips she has shared of quieter, more personal family moments have given the public a different kind of window into what that household actually feels like behind closed doors. Whether you agree with her family's politics or not, those moments register as genuinely human. Kai is, by most accounts, a young woman who has figured out how to exist in multiple worlds at once without losing herself in any of them. That is not an easy thing to do at 19, famous last name or not. Next we move to the second child of Donald Trump Jr. and Vanessa Trump. Donald John Trump III was born in 2009, 2 years after his older sister, and from a very early age he made a choice that relatively few people in high-profile families make. He chose privacy, and he has stuck with that choice with remarkable consistency. Carrying his father's and grandfather's name could easily have pushed him toward the spotlight, but Donnie, as he is known within the family, seems genuinely uninterested in public performance of any kind. He is not on social media in any meaningful public-facing way. He does not seek out press attention. He does not show up at events unless family circumstances genuinely call for his presence. What he does instead is spend time outdoors, fishing with his father, going on boating trips with his siblings, and living the kind of low-key teenage life that most people with an ordinary last name take completely for granted. In a family where visibility is almost a currency, his deliberate step away from it is actually one of the more interesting choices being made by any member of the third generation. That is not to say he is disconnected from his family or indifferent to them. He has shown up at meaningful moments when it mattered personally to him, demonstrating that his preference for privacy is about protecting his own life rather than distancing himself from the people he loves. He supports his family quietly and sincerely, which in its own way says a great deal about his character. There is a maturity in knowing what you want and what you do not want at a relatively young age, and Donnie seems to have figured that out before many of his peers. The third child of Donald Trump Jr. and Vanessa Trump is Tristan Milosh Trump, and if Donnie represents the quiet end of the sibling spectrum, Tristan lands somewhere considerably more energetic. He is the child that family members most frequently mention in the context of sports and physical activity. His father has shared updates about his athletic milestones over the years, and it is clear that Tristan has inherited a competitive streak that shows up in everything from organized youth sports to casual backyard games with his siblings and cousins. Football holds a particular place in his heart. His family celebrated one of his birthdays with a custom football cake that reflected his devotion to the sport, and that kind of detail speaks to how central athletics are to his daily identity. He brings intensity to the things he cares about, which is a personality trait that tends to serve people well when channeled in the right direction. Family members have described him as someone who is all in once he commits to something, whether that is a game, a team, or a personal goal. What makes Tristan interesting beyond his athletic nature is the fact that he reportedly bears a striking physical resemblance to his grandfather at a younger age, a comparison that family members bring up with obvious affection. Whether he finds that amusing or slightly exhausting likely depends on the day. But physically and temperamentally, he seems to be carving out an identity that is recognizably his own, rooted in physical activity, competition, and a genuine love of being outside and engaged with the world rather than watching it from a distance. Spencer Frederick Trump is the fourth child of Donald Trump Jr. and Vanessa Trump, and he carries a middle name that connects him directly to the foundational chapter of the Trump family story. Frederick was the name of the man who first built the real estate business that would eventually grow into the empire the family is known for today. Whether or not Spencer feels the weight of that historical connection is something only he would know, but it is worth understanding where the name comes from and what it represents within the broader family narrative. Spencer has developed a reputation among those who follow the family as the one most passionate about motorsports. His father has shared photos and videos of him on ATVs and dirt bikes over the years, and it is evident that the appeal of speed, outdoor terrain, and mechanical machines has captured his imagination in a meaningful way. He also has a demonstrated interest in archery, which requires a completely different kind of focus and discipline than motorsports. The combination of those two hobbies suggests someone who is drawn both to the adrenaline of physical activity and to the meditative precision that a sport like archery demands. Physically, Spencer has drawn comparisons to his uncle Barron Trump, which makes for an interesting family dynamic given that Barron himself is one of the more enigmatic members of the broader Trump family. Spencer shows up at major family events, including significant political moments like inaugurations and conventions, but does not use those appearances as a platform for anything beyond family solidarity. He is there because family matters to him, not because he is chasing a moment or building a brand. That distinction, subtle as it might seem, says something real about his priorities. Chloe Sophia Trump is the fifth and youngest child of Donald Trump Jr., born in 2014, and her arrival completed the sibling group in a way that her parents apparently found satisfying from a family balance standpoint. Her mother Vanessa has referred to Chloe and her older sister Kai as her two golf superstars, and that framing tells you a lot about what kind of household these children were raised in. Golf is clearly a family language in the Donald Trump Jr. branch of the family, and Chloe has picked it up with enthusiasm and natural ability that her grandfather has openly praised at. Beyond golf, Chloe has developed a reputation as the adventurer of the group. She is comfortable on the water in a way that goes beyond casual enjoyment. Family trips involving boats and deep-sea fishing are an environment where she genuinely thrives, and those who know the family have described her as someone who seems most alive when she is outdoors and in motion. The ocean, the deck of a boat, the challenge of a fishing trip, these are not activities she tolerates for the sake of family time. They are things she genuinely loves. She also has a personality that translates well in public settings, which is not something you can train into a child. Some people are naturally at ease in front of others, and she appears to be one of those people. That quality, combined with her athleticism and her sense of adventure, makes her one of the more dynamic personalities in the third generation. She is still young, and there is plenty of road ahead of her, but the foundation she is building in terms of interests, confidence, and character suggests that she will continue to be a compelling figure in the family story as she gets older. Now we move from the household of Donald Trump Jr. into the family of Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, which has produced three children who are, in their own right, fascinating individuals. The eldest of the three is Arabella Rose Kushner, and she became something of an international figure before she was old enough to fully understand what that meant. When Arabella was around 5 years old, she began studying Mandarin Chinese. This was not a casual introduction to a foreign language but a genuine immersion that eventually led to her being able to sing traditional Chinese songs and recite classical poetry in the language with enough fluency and charm to impress audiences at an extremely high level. During a state visit in 2017, Her grandfather shared a video of her performing for Chinese President Xi Jinping, and that clip traveled far and wide, introducing the world to a child who seemed to possess a natural gift for cultural connection and performance. The response was overwhelmingly warm, and for a time she was described in various international media as a kind of accidental cultural ambassador. But Arabella is far more than that single viral moment. She is a practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a martial art that demands physical discipline, mental toughness, and consistent dedication over years of training. She rides horses regularly and has bonded with her mother Ivanka over equestrian activities in a way that has become one of the defining features of their relationship. When she reached the milestone of her bat mitzvah, she approached the celebration in a way that reflected her values rather than just the occasion itself. She channeled the attention and the gathering into service, spending time volunteering at a kosher food bank and working with organizations that use horses therapeutically with children who have special needs. That kind of intentionality at her age is genuinely notable. She has also begun to develop her own presence in fashion and public life, appearing at events with her parents in ways that suggest she is growing into a young woman who is comfortable in polished settings without being defined by them. She has range, and that range is what makes her one of the more interesting figures in the entire extended family. Joseph Frederick Kushner is the middle child and eldest son of Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, and his name is a deliberate tribute to two men who shaped the family from the ground up. His first name honors Joseph Kushner, his great-grandfather on his father's side, a Holocaust survivor who rebuilt his life and became a successful developer. His middle name comes from Fred Trump, the man who laid the foundation for the real estate empire that would eventually make the Trump name famous. Ivanka has spoken about both of these men as builders, and it seems fitting that Joseph himself has developed a deep fascination with how things are constructed and how they work. From a young age, Joseph has shown an engineering mindset. He takes apart mechanical objects to understand their inner workings, which is the kind of curiosity that, when nurtured, tends to lead people toward careers in engineering, technology, or design. He is not just passively interested in the outcome of things. He wants to understand the process, the mechanics, the systems. That is a distinct way of engaging with the world, and it sets him apart from his siblings in an interesting way. Outside of his intellectual interests, Joseph is highly physically active. He dirt bikes, he skateboards, and he is a genuine basketball enthusiast who has attended professional games with his mother. The courtside seats are obviously a perk of his family's circumstances, but the love of the sport itself appears to be authentic. He is also known within family lore for a moment that happened when he was a toddler, when his mother announced she was expecting his younger brother and the camera caught his completely deadpan and unenthusiastic response. That clip circulated widely and became one of those small family moments that the internet adopted as a kind of shorthand for unfiltered honesty. The fact that he has apparently maintained that authentic, unvarnished quality as he has grown older suggests that the toddler moment was not a fluke. He simply says what he means and feels what he feels, and there is something genuinely refreshing about